And I saw a phrase in I can't remember where I read it. Somebody commented on it. It was an article, and they described the dinghy, the boats, as sperm-like dinghy ejaculations, and I thought that was a beautiful imagery, that, because it is like that. They're constantly being fired at us,
and when they pull up at the beach, they all
yes, exactly. So these dinghies are fired at us from the bloody French, and then they ejaculate onto our shores. These groups of.
Did you see the stat the other day? Labour government taking credit that there's been a reduction in boats coming across.
No.
Until someone commented, yes, that's true, but the boats are getting bigger.
Boats are getting bigger, yeah, because they've not smashed again. So anyway, did you know that on Saturday the 5th of October, guess how many migrants crossed on that one day?
Was it 970?
Yeah, it was just under 1,000 basically. So that's a record apparently compared to the last big number. But I want to pursue this cost thing, okay? So for my own amusement, let's assume those 1,000 migrants all stay in the UK and they live to 80. Clearly they're going to be in hotels or whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's assume those.
Let me put that into context.
Okay.
So 1,000 migrants, all young men, turned up on Saturday.
Yes.
100 Spanish conquistadors turned up in Mexico and overthrew the Aztec Empire.
Yes.
100
Yes.
Spanish conquistadors
Yeah.
overthrew the Aztec Empire.
Yeah.
And we've got 1,000 landing on our shores.
On one day.
On one day.
Yeah, I think there was a slight difference there. Conquistadors were far more sophisticated, well educated, well tooled up in terms of ammunition, and the Aztecs were fairly primitive.
But how many hundreds of thousands of illegals are in the country now? Hundreds of thousands of them.
I'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've raised that. So, for my own amusement, I'm assuming those 1,000 people who arrived on that one day are going to be here till they're 80, and given the state of our government, our crappy government, that's probably the case. How much do you think that will cost the British taxpayer for those just that one day, that one boat, if they live to 80?
That's 500 million.
Correct. You're good at maths, aren't you? That's impressive. I have heard you being called Nick the Human Calculator before. That is actually correct. So if those 1,000, one day, Nick, if those 1,000 remain on our shores till they're 80, basically taking our money, our tax or whatever, they'll cost us £500 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a shocking number, don't you think?
I'd say it's going to be more than that, because that's if they don't bring anybody with them. Because once they're here and once they get settled status, you can bring 8 people. So each one of them can bring 8 more people, family members, all legally.
Wow. This year there have been, I'm going to put you under pressure now, 27,000 have arrived this year
on the boats.
On the boats. How much is that going to cost us if they live to 80?
27,000, that's...
Yeah, you said it then, you said it.
13.5 billion.
Correct.
Yeah.
£13.5 billion that's going to cost us. So this is the scale. This is because we talk about boats arriving or whatever. Do people actually understand how much this is going to cost us? Do you think?
So
have they got the idea?
13.5 billion is a whole decade of heating allowance for pensions. That's a whole decade.
Yes. So what we're saying is, the illegal immigrants that this government has let in so far this year, the cost of looking after them would fund our old age pensioners for a decade.
Yes.
That's scandalous, isn't it?
When you put it in those terms, it really, really is. We should use this winter fuel allowance all the time now to compare.
Yeah, I think it's a great.
To put numbers into perspective.
It's like when they say country that it's the size of Wales, or the size. Yes. Oh yeah, it's that one, isn't it? You made the good point, just because, of course, now what the left wing progressives will now be saying. Oh yeah, but there's women and children, and they're all. And by the way, they're going to contribute to the economy and all that bollocks. So 90% of the small boat arrivals this year are men. male, basically. So
we see that on TV.
This image of the fact, there's women and children, it's bollocks, basically. However, conveniently, and this is a tragic thing, so I don't mean convenient in a sense, but conveniently, when they report somebody drowning, it's always a woman and a child. So there was an incident recently, and it might have been last week, where a child was killed. What it didn't report...
I think it was two children.
Two children.
Died on the boat, and the woman was raped, I think, thrown overboard.
Yes. What it didn't report... So the headlines from our fabulous left-wing institutionalised media were a woman and two children killed crossing. What it didn't say is the children were trampled to death on the boat, and they say the woman was raped and thrown overboard. Yeah. And this is the bullshit we're being fed all the time by the government's media on.
Don't forget all those migrants. The reason why they're young men is because once they get here, they then send for the families.
Yeah. So again, the left-wing progressives will be saying, "Oh yeah, but most of those people won't even be granted asylum because they'll be sent back. They'll be assessed by this very sophisticated Home Office border thing."
No one's sent back.
Illegals in Britain are 3 times more likely to be granted asylum than the rest of Europe. So we're not only getting them over here, we're more likely to see 3 times more likely, which is a massive percentage than anywhere in the rest of Europe. So even the rest of Europe are saying, forget it, we're not staying here, mate. So they say bugger off, and the next minute they're on a boat heading for England. Yeah. We've imagined, or everybody said, oh, this is just fantasy, it's not real. But it's the reality. All the things we've thought are happening are actually happening.
It's worse than that. So we are...
Let me speak your catchphrase.
Yeah, it's worse than that. So even though we're granting asylum 3 times as much as other countries, the ones here who don't get asylum stay. They're just not given asylum status.
They're in the hotels.
They still stay here, so it's not like they leave.
Yeah.
So it makes no difference if we grant them asylum or not. None of them leave.
None of them leave. Correct. We've sent 3 to Rwanda and they came back. Now, obviously, these pitiful migrants who've come from very oppressive states deserve to stay because obviously they've been oppressed, and we know they're oppressed because we know where they come from, don't we? Except we don't, Nick, because guess what percentage of these pitiful Channel migrants managed to lose their passports on the perilous journey?
100% of them.
I'm going to say it's worse than that, but it's not. It's 98%.
Right.
Basically, you're dead right.
So what you're saying is 2% of them are so stupid they throw away their passports in their own pockets.
Well, I'm going to try and be benevolent here and maybe say that 2%, maybe they are genuine. Maybe those are the genuine oppressed ones, I don't know. But you're right. Basically, so you've got these young guys, 1,000 of them arriving last Saturday, and they are men, because we now know they're all men, who are going to cost us £500,000 a pop, so they're 80. And all of them don't have passports, basically. I mean, it's just scandalous, isn't it?
And that's because it makes processing them harder.
Yeah.
So if you've got a passport saying you're from Turkey, well, you're not going to get asylum. We're going to, we might end up deporting you. But if you throw away your passport and then say I'm from Syria, right, this is a lot harder now. So it's just a ploy to make it harder for the British to assess them, and they stay and they're here longer.
What? Why is no one talking about this?
It's been going on for decades. Numbers have increased.
Yeah.
Well, the numbers of the boats have actually gone down the last couple of years. It's still silly figures, but they're not as high as they were a couple of years ago. But illegal immigration, no one wants to talk about these problems because none of our politicians have got solutions for them. That's why no one talks about it, because I can't talk about a problem if I can't offer an answer.
But what I don't understand is why don't the opposition talk about it? Why aren't Reform talking about it now in Parliament?
I'm sure Reform will, but the answer why were the opposition not talking about it? Because the opposition always know I'm going to be there next cycle.
Yeah.
And if I talk about it now, they're going to hold me accountable, and there's no answer to this. So none of us will talk about it.
They're kind of going, I don't worry, I'll keep quiet because I know I'm going to be over there next year.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that because we've all been doing the same thing for the past 14 years.
Telepathetic.
Yeah. Certainly pathetic. So an Oxford University study has recently found that Britain has more. You might be shocked by this one. I might have caught you by surprise on this one. An Oxford University found that Britain has more illegal migrants than any country in Europe. Did you know that, Nick?
I didn't, and that has surprised me. I'd like to look at their research and how they work this out, because it's very difficult to work out illegal immigrants because they're illegal, you don't know where they are. I would have thought European countries would have had more because it's easier to get to. I know we have a huge problem in this country. I don't think it's 700,000. I think it's a couple of million in this country illegally. I haven't
told you the number yet, but it was a good guess. You're close.
Well, I think I must have read the article then.
Yeah.
They've done studies, I've been talking about this before, about how many people are in certain cities in the UK, and these studies always work out there's several million more than we ever thought there was. London's a good example. I think it's like 2 million more in London if you base it on...
Oh, you said on the sewage.
Sewage and how much we're putting in there. Supermarket sales, how much toilet rolls being sold, how much potatoes and rice and staples. Because you look at a supermarket, you go, that's the catchment area. Well, we think there's 100,000 people there. Well, no, we're selling enough stuff as if there's 120,000 people in this area. So they've done all these studies and work out there's something like 2 million people extra in London who are not on the books. And if they're not on the books, it means they're illegal.
This study has worked out, I don't know, or you might need to see their detailed analysis. There's 745,000 illegal migrants in this country, and that is 1 in 100 of the population.
Yeah.
So when you're out walking in the streets, 1 in 100 of the people you see will be not a migrant, an illegal migrant. Yeah. But you're saying you believe that to be more.
I believe it's a lot more than that.
But even that is scandalous, isn't it, Nick? That's
when you put it in percentage figures, it is.
Yeah. 1 in 100 people out there.
1% of the population
is in illegal.
Shouldn't be here.
Yeah. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Of course, and if there's 745,000 illegal migrants, and each one costs $500,000 to the 80, can you calculate that one? And just a little warning in advance, I haven't actually calculated this one, so I can't tell you. This is hard because your zeros are getting bigger and bigger here, aren't they? This is
350, 367
billion.
367 billion.
I think it is. I think it's 300. I think that's going to cost us 350 billion pounds. I've not calculated.
That would pay the heating allowance for our pensioners for 275 years.
That would pay the heating allowance for everybody, not just the pensioners. But that would give us free heating for the next 50 years. And France apparently has got 300,000, which sounds a bit low to me. See, especially given that we discussed last week that 700,000 potentially roaming around.
How do you count people who are illegally and have got their head down? How do you count them? I don't know.
I think you estimate it based on typical border crossings over a period of time or whatever or estimates. There must be data on that stuff.
Yeah, I've got no idea how they work.
Germany's close, 700,000, and I'm not surprised that Germany's close because remember Angela Merkel said I can't remember what her term, some German thing about refugees.
Yeah, but don't forget they all entered legally.
Yes, they all entered. No, oh sorry, those are legal. Yeah,
yeah, that was so they're talking 2 million.
Sorry, yes,
all legal.
Yes, so this is legal.
These are people who've sneaked in the country.
Yes, correct.
Hence why it's hard to know how many it is, because they sneak in.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.